This is the Toplofty Lounge. We're in for a smooth show for you today. Oh yeah, baby. In 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, baby. Yeah, here we go. In 11, 10, 9. Oh yeah, baby. Here we come. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And let's go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Toplofty Lounge, episode 44, part 4 of our look at the best sci-fi TV shows ever made. That's what we're talking about today. Welcome, all my fellow snobs. Who do we have? And oh, wait, before I do that, I should bring in my co-host, the Orville. He is the Orville to my Star Trek. He is the Spaceballs to my Star Wars. It's Cam. Say hello, Cam.
I object to those characterizations.
Of course you do. Cam hates everything.
Mostly.
How was your week, Cam, since the last show?
Crazy, hectic, painful, filled with stupidity. Not all on my part.
Ooh, that's good.
Just miserable week.
Miserable. Wow.
Yeah.
Miserable. Okay, well, that's not very good. Okay, well, I know exactly what you need. You need some relaxing. Oh, hold on. Oh, gotta get this right. You need some relaxing birds.
Hmm.
There we go. You should see the snow that we got at our place. It's like a foot of snow I got in the last week.
Wow.
Spring is over. We're back to winter. It's really annoying and pissed me off. I actually tried to see. I got my driveway's like 300 plus meters long, so I tried to use my snow thrower. I got this. It's like a snowblower, but it goes on the front of a small tractor, like a garden tractor, lawn tractor. So I put that on, and the snow, it wouldn't work. The snow is just so thick and wet and heavy that I just couldn't get the damn thing through. I mean, it's not too bad. We can drive over it. It's not that much snow, but I didn't have to do it. But I thought, all right, let's go and let's, do this. But yeah, I couldn't. The snow was so wet and heavy. I mean, it was like 0 today, so it was pretty warm.
And Freedom Height, that's 32 degrees.
32. Yeah. So it was pretty. So I tried. That didn't work. But anyway.
Well, the weather around here has been up and down, so who knows what it's going to be minute to minute.
But you don't have snow.
Not right now. Not at the moment. Maybe tomorrow. So it's but we don't expect a lot of snow because I was at the home store today. Spoiler, I spend a lot of time at the home store, and they had some of the heavy duty snow blowers on sale. So there.
Oh, you're dropping your.
Oh, that was probably me actually speaking more quietly.
Okay.
I was just saying that the snow blowers have been moved out for the most part, but the ones that are left are on sale.
I mean, ours were too. I mean, it was nice. Like a lot of snow melted like in the last 2 weeks before. I mean, before this week, the last 2 to 3 weeks ago, it was like really nice. And I was like, oh, here comes spring. I was even thinking of taking my snow thrower off. And then this week dumped a foot on us in like a 2-day period. And I'm like, oh, I mean, they closed down the highway near where I am. One of the highways on Friday or Thursday. So much snow. They weren't really expecting it. So,
hey, can we do a quick audio check? Do you hear any echo from my side?
No, I don't hear any echo. No.
Okay, I'm tweaking the settings to try and take care of this.
On and off.
Yeah. So anyway, let me know if there's any problem. Hey, why don't we say hi to the chat?
That's a good idea. So who do we got in the chat today? Weatherman's here. Yes, our most loyal viewer. Welcome, Weatherman. Michael is in the chat. Opa to you too. Michael's going to be on our show, not this next Babylon 5 show. The one after, he's going to be the special guest host for that show. Assimilating Knowledge is in the chat, and he's going to be the guest host for the next Babylon 5. Are you ready, Assimilating Knowledge? Are you good to go? Do you have, have you watched the show? You've done everything you need to do. It's only 3 days. Hope you're ready.
Yeah. And as I will not be on that show. So, hey, good to have somebody stepping in. But I will try to be in the chat, as I mentioned on the last Babylon 5. I'll see if I can. I won't have access to my computer where I can get on, but I will have my phone, so I can get in.
Slacking off. Dave's in the chat. Hail Dave. He says he's done the homework. Okay, well, that's good because I haven't watched the show yet. So
yeah, because
usually watch it on
sparkling
Monday
analysis. We have a standards to maintain.
Yeah. Last minute procrastination. Can't do anything too early.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. I actually need to watch the show. I am going to watch the show, so I don't, miss out. But I got to do that tomorrow myself. So.
Yeah. So you got to, I expect you to get all the trivia questions correct, Cam.
I'll do that.
Okay. Now you're getting quiet again. I don't know if you're just mumbling or.
Yeah, I'm mumbling.
All right. Okay. I think that's everybody that I see in the chat so far. Anyway, I don't know. Maybe there's some people hiding.
Maybe,
but that's fine. Keep quiet. Spy on us. The Chinese are here to make sure we're not saying nasty things about them. All hail our Chinese overlords.
No one's going to come in tonight because there's no tool segment.
There's no tool. Well, I know, but we got to keep the tool segments. You can't do them every day, otherwise,
Right.
And people they don't appreciate them, right?
Indeed. Well, you know what? This isn't going to be a tool segment, but I did fall prey to the other tool channel. Well, real tool channels, I should say. They had a device that I was like, hey, I think I need that. So they sold me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And what was this device?
It's like a handheld, and when I say handheld, I literally one-handed small thing. That's it's a blower. It's like like for blowing dust off something. Although in the instructions it says do not blow dust. This is some legalistic thing, I'm sure. But it basically takes the place of like compressed air or something. And man, this thing really puts out a jet of air. Yeah, it's it's just a fan, like an electric powered fan. But it really moves. I mean, it like blows across the room, kind of thing. It's like a leaf blower in your hand.
Is it like used for blowing like compressed air?
Right. I think that's the idea.
Is that what it's supposed to be? Because I was actually, I got a compressor, small little compressor. I was going to get it doesn't have the proper tool. I was going to get it exchanged, buy a tool, put it on there. Because I do have some things to blow out, keyboard,
I think,
dust, and just.
Right. I think for keyboards and things like that, it would do the job. It's not going to be obviously the same as a real air compressor.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty powerful though. It's maybe I'll do a test and let you know.
Yeah, because I could, how much is that anyway? Is it expensive?
It was rather expensive.
Oh.
Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Go ahead. And
I was thinking, for myself, I was thinking, I think for about $30 I can get the proper, head that or whatever it is that goes on your small air compressors, so I can just use it that way. But there's a couple things that I wouldn't mind getting some dust out of that your compressed air can, that you would normally use for keyboards or whatever, just can't quite do it. Doesn't have enough punch.
I will put it in our chat, and you could take a look at it. It's $63 on sale.
63. Well, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
I think I could have got my, for about 35 or so. I can get a new nozzle, different nozzle for my compressor, but something like that.
Well, I got this because there are a number of things, but I don't know if anyone's aware of this. I am a casual fan of Lego. I suck at building Lego stuff, but I have a number of Lego things, and they really collect dust.
Yeah. Do you want me to put this in the? You didn't put it. You put it in the private chat. You want me to put this in the?
Well, you could pull it up if you want.
All right. Let me see if I can figure out how to get it on there. Make sure that I got. There it is. Okay. Let's see. Okay, looks like it's working. All right, let's add it to the stage. Okay, here we go. This is it. Reuse, and energy efficient. Okay, I don't show my. The Wolfbox MF100 electric air duster. 150,000 RPMs. Is that right? Holy.
That's what it says. I mean,
Cordless.
it's surprising. I mean, you would think, it's just a little, it's really quite.
It's got little brushes.
Impressive.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Now the brushes they're just brushes. They don't attach to the blower.
Oh, they don't? Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is weird. So, I mean, I guess you could use it with the blower to kind of, if you got some.
You brush it and then you blow it. What are these things at the bottom here? These are just nozzles for the.
Yeah, there's different nozzles for.
Oh, I see wider and more.
Yeah, and one of them there is supposed to. Well, they list the different things, and the one illustration they have is for inflating like beds or whatever. And I have or like air mattresses, and I have one that is one that it's like for camping, they roll up pretty tight and everything, but then you can inflate them. And so I thought it might be nice for that as well.
Clean the car, clean the PC, outdoor use. Blow air on your.
I did use it on the keyboard, and it seemed to work fine. So yeah.
Mini portable. It's pretty small.
Yeah, it is.
0.6 of a pound.
USB.
Oh, USB charge. Yeah, everything's pretty much like that, eh?
Yeah, at this point, like we this is kind of getting off the topic, but USB-C is like I don't want anything that's not USB-C at this point.
Yeah, pretty much. All right. Okay, so we were going to do a tool segment, but I guess we are.
This is more like a home.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Anyway. Should we? Let's see. Should I post it in the? Let me just copy that. That's. Wow, you can. You know what, Cam? You just post it in the chat. Put it in the chat. I think you can. I think you can put stuff. Yeah. Oh, PBR Street Gang's here. Welcome.
Once again, we get nothing for any of this stuff. So.
Yeah, we don't. That's kind of cool.
All right. How about on with the topic? Since I've wasted some time here.
All right. Shall we get on to the topic? All right, everybody. If you want your duster, go. There's in the chat. There's one that Cam, I don't know, recommends, but is trying out. All right.
Weatherman, I didn't see the cubic feet per minute listed. They list the speed of it, but anyway, you could peruse the documentation there if you like.
Yeah, check it out. It's in the chat. That's the link, the same one that I just clicked on to get this. There's a bunch of other ones at the bottom too. Oh, there's tons. But anyway, yeah, you can check it out. All right, let's add to the stage and let's talk about our. Okay, so we ended off last week talking about Rick and Morty. Let's go to this week. I think I have 6 shows that we were talking about. Okay, so the first one, the Orville. Cam, you've heard of the Orville, haven't you?
I have.
Yeah. All right, so it's an American sci-fi comedy drama. Created by Seth MacFarlane, the guy who brought us Family Guy, American Dad, those stuff. There was 2 seasons on Fox starting in September of 2017, and the 3rd season went to Hulu in June of 2022. So it's got 3 seasons. I'm not sure what's going on if they're doing another. The Orville is set on the spacecraft, the USS Orville, a mid-level exploratory vessel in the Planetary Union 25th Century Interstellar Alliance of Earth and many other planets. The series begins in the year 2417. This adventure is encountered by the ship's crew, usually involving planet exploration and visits to various parts of the galaxy. All right, so, I mean, the Orville is basically a Star Wars parody.
Star Trek.
Star Trek parody. It's Star Trek, but it's it's got a little bit of comedy in there, so they don't take themselves seriously. They poke a little fun at it, and in actual fact, there is a lot of people talking about with the problems with Star Trek right now. I mean, the Orville is the closest thing to real Star Trek that we have. The only addition is the addition of the comedy, but it's set up like a usual Star Trek TV show. They go somewhere, something happens, all the usual stuff. Not like this weird, various weird Star Treks we've been getting with dancing and crying and whatever else has been going on. So a lot of people have been watching the Orville and saying to themselves, "Hey, I need, I like Star Trek. The Orville is the only thing that's close to Star Trek." So there's a couple of funny things like the captain, his first officer is his ex-wife. They got that guy who's a blob and stuff. But overall, it follows the storyline of a usual Star Trek. Have you seen any of these shows, Cam? Any of them at all?
Not 1 minute of it.
Not even one. The first season was kind of panned, and then the critics raved about the second and third season. I felt that I've seen the first and I think part of the second season, all or part of the second season, and I thought I think it's pretty good. There's been some science fiction-y Star Trek type of social commentary. Like there was one episode where they go to this planet and they're checking it out. This planet doesn't have space travel. It's kind of like our level of technology, and they go on there and the planet is kind of run by social media, right? So it's a big comment on social media. So one of the crew does something. They have this statue. He pretends to hump it or something like that. I mean, it's kind of stupid. Why would you do that? But he's like, "Hey, look at this statue," and everybody starts filming him. And then he gets voted down, and he gets arrested because most people put thumbs down on his thing. So he gets arrested, and they have to rescue him and all this stuff. So it's kind of an interesting commentary on social media. But there's some funny things in there too. The guy who's he's the Klingon, but I can figure what they call him. They only have males. They don't have any females in their species. So there's this talk about I think they have a kid who's a female, so there's some conflict there. There's one funnier episode is when he learns about smoking, and they start smoking. Him and his husband are smoking all the time, and they can take it because their bodies are really tough, but it's just pretty funny. What else? So there's very, very typical Star Trek style shows, except just a little bit more humor. They don't take themselves too seriously. But yeah. In this picture here, this robot, they find out later, spoiler alert, this robot, they find out later that the race that he's from, they exterminated the biological entities on their world. They go to the guy's world and they find these giant caves filled with like millions and millions of dead bones from some biological entity. These guys are like, "Oh yeah," he just sort of casually remarks, "Yeah, well, we exterminated our creators. They were they didn't know what they were doing. It's kind of what some people think might happen to us if we go too far with AI. So they're just like, yeah, whatever."
Well,
and they're all like, yeah, all the biologicals, all the crew are like, oh my god, they're all like, ugh.
If it does happen, no one can say that we weren't warned.
That's right, many times. Yeah. Anyway, so if you need a Star Trek fix, this show is reasonable. Star Trek, way better than the crap that they've pushed out in the last 10 years for Star Trek. At least it is, Star Trek. All right.
Well, just since I haven't seen anything of it, you got the alien and the robot here. Quick.
Yeah, this
question.
alien, I don't know who she is.
What's funnier, aliens or robots?
I don't know.
The answer is robots.
Oh, is it? Are they?
Oh yeah, you could do way funnier humor with robots, in my opinion. As we discussed last week with Futurama.
Yeah, I put him. So when I put these pictures up, I try to find something that is either very dark or very light, so I can do the text in black or in white, and it's kind of hard sometimes. So I don't always pick the best picture, but I like this robot because he's pretty funny. So yeah,
All right.
Yeah. So, where's Jason? Oh, Jason's not part of this. He's part of the Babylon 5. He's got his own show that he worries about. He doesn't want
to be part of that
he
show.
doesn't want to be part of. He doesn't want to be part of this.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Can you blame him? I mean, let's be honest.
Weatherman says Hulu is filming a season 4 that started in February, supposed to release in July. Yeah, all right. Well, that's pretty. Like I said, I think the show is worth watching. It's pretty good if you like that. If you like Star Trek and you like something, I mean, it's a little more humorous. And like I said, they're not putting out any good Star Trek anyway, so you might as well watch this. At least it's the most Star Trek show on TV now. All right, let's move on. Oh, Space Above and Beyond. Now, you have heard of this, right, Cam?
Yes, in fact, I watched it. It's been a long time since the original run. I think I watched the whole thing. There's only one season.
So it's American Sci-Fi. Glenn Morgan and James Wong. Only one season, 1995, 1996. Nominated for 2 Emmys and 1 Saturn Award. So set in the year 2063, show focuses on the wild cards, members of the United States Marine Corps 58 Squadron of the Space Aviator Cavalry. They're stationed on a space carrier, acting as infantry and pilots. I thought it was a little weird they were acting as infantry and pilots.
Yeah, that struck me as stupid, and I think other people have commented on it as well. But
But other than that,
they were Marines, though, right? So
they were Marines, yes.
Every Marine's a rifleman.
But I mean, it's so expensive to train a pilot. The last thing you want is get shot. I think.
True.
Yeah. I watched the whole show and own the DVD. I need to get the DVD. Ended on a cliffhanger. Yeah, it just got canceled. Sort of. It was low ratings. I mean, this.
This is a show Jason wants to talk about. He wants to do the review show on this, which would be easy. It's only one season, right? So
yeah,
it's a good idea.
I would love to see this. This is one of my shows that was canceled too early. There's all kinds of stuff going on the show. So, like I said, the show starts off with the Chigs. These are these aliens that Earth put out their first couple colonies, and the Chigs invade them and basically wipe them out. So we're kind of stuck. We're kind of stuck in our own little solar system. And also, there's this storyline with the Silicates. So they've invented robots too, androids, and we had a war with the androids some ways back. And now we think that the androids are helping out the Chigs to invade us.
Well, there's also tanks, right? The clones or they're not clones, but they're born in a tank, or they're artificial wombs, I guess, right?
Yeah. So as part of the war, we've cloned. They call them tanks. They call them something else too. Let me just I have it down here.
Dripping with derogatory terms.
Yeah, I have it down here. They call them tanks and something else, and they're basically they're collectively known as in viteros, tanks or nipple necks. They're born at the physical age of 18 and trained solely for combat. In the this was when they were fighting the Silicates. In the post-war period, the tanks have attempted with mixed success to re-enter human society. So that's another little area of story that.
Yeah, their commanding officer is a tank, as I recall.
So there's a lot going on in the show. I really enjoyed it because it's it was science fiction, but it had a little bit of darkness to it, a little bit of seriousness. Like it wasn't like, hey, we're just going around the galaxy, la la la,
Yeah, it's one of your war sci-fis, right?
It's a war sci-fi, yeah, which is somewhat rare. And we're kind of humans are on their back foot. We've kind of we've been losing. Maybe the Silicates are maybe traitors. It's a lot going on. And we don't know much about the Chigs, right? We kind of see them, and their faces are covered, and they're kind of somewhat mysterious. We don't know what they look like.
You know what? It feels a little Forever War to me.
Yeah, it is. It is a little bit.
Or Ender's
And
Game, for that matter.
yeah, and it's focused on so there's a lot of action. It's focused on the squadron and what's going on there. The interactions between the the pilots and the squadron, the Marines, their commanding officer, all that stuff, and this whole we're on a back foot. This could be the end of us if we don't. Every mission could be one step more to humans being extinct or losing the war, and God knows what happens afterwards, and not knowing why the Chigs are really attacking us. Right? So yeah, it was a great show, and very disappointed that it's only one season. Yeah.
Well, and it featured Arlie Army as the commanding general or something. He was a high ranking. He was only on the I think the first show, right?
No.
As I recall.
I don't remember. I mean, it's so long since I've seen it. 30 years. I can't remember any of the details. It was but it's quite different than the usual. Like we've been talking about this when we're if you look at some of the shows that were on during the 90s and early 2000s, they kind of fit a certain mold, right? They kind of fit a Star Trek mold, right? Except Star Trek has a little bit higher production value. Andromeda, Farscape, all these type of shows, they usually have one sort of main. It's usually a ship, but not always. But it's one sort of main, thing, and then most of the action happens on that ship or whatever it is, and they kind of formulaic. But this one is not like that. It's much different, much more open than that, in my view. Yeah, it's a shame it didn't get another season.
Okay, I think it's worth. This is probably one that's worth exploring further. Again,
yeah, I would be down with watching this show. Again, it's it's just a shame, like you said. Weatherman says it ended on a cliffhanger. Yeah, because they, it's a shame. It could be, it could be a good storyline. They got a lot built up, a lot of backstory, a lot of places to go. Oh well. The next, Andromeda. This is American space opera based on unused material by Gene Roddenberry. And the other one by Gene Roddenberry is, of course, Earth Conflict. This is the Kevin Sorbo show. Developed by Robert Wolfe and produced by Gene Roddenberry's widow. 5 seasons from 2000 to 2005. First 4 on the network, and the 5th season on the Sci-Fi Channel. You notice that happens a lot, eh? There's a ton of Sci-Fi Channel is starting to get going, Cam. And yes. They have, they'd have a couple seasons of these shows, and then the network would cancel it, and Sci-Fi would pick it up. Okay, so 1,000 years in the future, the system Commonwealth is a constitutional monarchy spanning the Milky Way, Terrarium, and Andromeda galaxies. Blah blah blah.
Constitutional monarchy? What a stupid idea! Who would have such a thing?
Yeah.
Oh.
The Commonwealth is at war with the Magog, a parasitic humanoid species spreading across the galaxy. So, the show starts like this is what Kevin Sorbo, Dylan Hunt, he's the captain, knows of, and then his ship gets caught. They get attacked, and they get caught in some sort of in the event horizon around a black hole, and then next thing you know, 300 years later, this sort of ragtag crew pulls him out of the event horizon, and he's been, 300 years have passed. The war is over. They're going through the long night, and the Commonwealth has fallen. And he's kind of the, rah patriotic guy, and he's like, we got to bring back the Commonwealth. So he's got this ship. It's pretty powerful. No one else has anything like it.
Yeah, are they? I never saw it, but my understanding of it is that they're like in kind of a dark age thing now, and so his ship is like from a age when they were much more advanced, like let's say Roman Empire to Dark Ages, kind of. Okay.
Yeah. So he's like, hey, let's get the Commonwealth back together, And of course, I mean, he's been rescued by these, I mean, I'm not saying they're criminals, but I mean, they're salvaging the ship. They're kind of a little bit, they're not like, they're a little bit, it's been 300 years, right? So they're like, looking out for themselves and stuff. So this becomes his crew. He wins them over, I guess. And then off he goes spending 5 years trying to put this Commonwealth back together and, meeting various people. And they're looking at him, it's 300 years ago. Are you crazy? Some of them, want it back. Others don't. But yeah, that's basically the show. There's a Magog on the ship who is he doesn't believe in violence. He's a pacifist or something, which is
that's crazy talk.
It's a little bit hard for, because these guys were very, very aggressively attacking and stuff like that. So yeah, well yeah, that's a good point, Michael. The ship has an AI that interacts with the crew, and they eventually the woman whose voice is the AI, they eventually bring her into they do some magic science fiction-y computer stuff, and they bring her out of the thing, and she walks around, and I guess she gets tired of just doing the voice and says, "Hey, pay me more money."
Speaking of AI, if we have time at the end of the show, remind me to talk about my experiences with AI this week.
All right. And downloads in sexy robot form, yes. All these shows have to have sexy robots or sexy something.
It's what the people want.
It's why I like those shows. Yeah. So yeah, that's Andromeda. At the end, I want to talk about these in general too. Okay, next one, Lexx, which is a Canadian German sci-fi TV series created by Lexx Gigeroff and Paul and Michael Donovan. I don't know who they are.
It's called Lexx and it's created by a guy named Lexx.
Lexx, yeah, but look, he's only got one X in his name, and the show has two X's.
Okay, got it.
So it's not the same. It's not named after him. It's totally different. Gotcha. All right. So season 1 was 4 made-for-TV movies, 90 minutes each, and were shown in April to September of '97. And then they went to a more traditional television series, seasons 2 to 4, December '98 to April 2002. They did 20 episodes. Then in the season 2, 13 in season 3, and 24 in season 4. So yeah, it became much more like a TV show. So this was kind of reading how this got together. This was a weird Canadian production. Salter Street Films was the guys who, I think they're the guys who did Second City Television, SCTV, and those kind of comedy TV shows. They were part of that, so I believe. So it had a kind of a little bit of a convoluted, it was bought by these guys.
Did it have a payoff? Because I've noticed Canadian humor has no payoff.
Yeah.
So are you laughing because it's true, or are you laughing because I'm saying that as an American?
Yes.
Okay.
So the main character. So this is kind of one of the weirdest sci-fi series out there. It's kind of up there. I mean, it's probably weirder than Red Dwarf. Have you seen Red Dwarf, Cam?
I've seen some of it.
I haven't seen much of it, but this is pretty weird. The Lexx is this living spaceship that can destroy planets. The main crew is the guy on the left there, Stanley Tweedle, who is a security guard class 4. He's basically a loser. The love slave Zev, who's the girl on the right there. She's replaced in season 2, I think. An undead former assassin. He's dead. His name is Kai. He's last of the Brunin G. So there's kind of some weird. And then the love crazed robot head 790, who goes after Zev all the time, but he's just a head. So, yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff going on. There's lots of irony, parody, sex comedy, lots of fairly sexual. It looks at the themes of fatalism, reincarnation, the afterlife, good versus evil. But like Stanley is he's like an idiot loser. He's the main character. Weatherman says, it got weird for me. That's why I stopped watching. It is pretty weird. Yeah.
Yeah,
One
it's
thing
one.
about... Go ahead.
It looked weird to me from the beginning, so I was just like, nah, I'm not going for that.
It's actually, I think it's something everyone should see just because it's so out there. But, I'm getting old. Some of the sex jokes and stuff get me. I'm like, ugh, do we really
I
need
can't
to see
imagine that a '90s thing, a show focused on that from the '90s. It's got to be like the lamest thing ever.
It's a cult classic. It's a very, out there sort of thing.
Just because it's strange doesn't mean it's a classic anything.
Well, it's still
cult or otherwise.
Yeah, well, I mean, the one thing, this actress, she gets replaced in the next season. But there's something about, like, how we all know Cam loves Sydney Sweeney, but I don't particularly think that Sydney Sweeney is this way. But there are certain actresses that ooze sexuality, like a Marilyn Monroe type of sexuality. I'd say, for example, young Jennifer Connelly was one of those, right? Like, she'd be in a picture or something, and she would just have this sort of, oozing sexuality out of her. And I think this actress had it as well. And when they replaced her, they kind of lost that. Like, I really, like, seeing her on the screen, I really believe that she was a love slave or something like that. Her replacement, not as much. But, yeah. So there's... it's a little strange. So, I mean, what's going on in the show? I mean, they basically have this, they've got this ship and they're going around and they don't really control it. It's biological. It's kind of weird. So what's been happening? Centuries prior, mankind was newly destroyed in a war with an insect civilization. Both sides saw the total annihilation of each other. The Brunan G led humanity to victory. They were labeled enslaved by the divine order, religious cult centered around his shadow. So there's always talk about there's this sort of dark force they call his shadow, which I kind of assume is he's sort of running the galaxy, but he's trying to control it all, and yet he's got some sort of dark, mysterious, occult-like power. But they always refer to him as his shadow. He's always after them. It's got a bit of that sort of, I don't know. Do I want to say religious? No. Occult, a little bit, kind of feel to him, right? Maybe like a dark force type thing. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. There is some
like maybe more like a dark forces, I guess that's how I would describe it. Yeah.
Sounds like it sucks.
Yeah. Cam likes everything. I watched. It's been a long time. I watched the first couple seasons. I don't think I saw the whole thing. I don't think I saw season 4. I'm not sure, but yeah, I got a good sense of the thing. It is pretty weird out there. Yeah, Jennifer Connelly. Yeah, okay. Young Jennifer Connelly, old. Well, all right. Sliders. Now, you've seen Sliders, right?
I think I saw just a little bit at the very beginning. I didn't watch it fully through.
So, American sci-fi fantasy TV series. This is a good show because it's a little bit different. Created by Robert Weiss and Tracy Torme. 5 seasons, 95 to 2000. First 3 seasons on Fox. The 2 final seasons on the Sci-Fi Channel. So this was I remember seeing when this concept came out. I was like, going, "Hey, this is a really great idea." The show's characters are a group of people who slide between different Earths in parallel universes via a vortex-like wormhole. That's a little thing that's in Jerry O'Connell's hand there. While the slide technology was intended to return them to their home universe, their premature use of the timer to escape a dangerous system caused them to lose track of the coordinates of their home universe. So now this is basically Quantum Leap. Except they're sliding. They're not going into people's brains. They're sliding into different Earths. So the first one is the first episode is a 2-parter, and it's to Nazi Earth. I think the Nazis have taken over the Earth. They're fighting against them. But there's a bunch of different ones. Part of the first episode as well, they slide into Earth that's been taken over by a global cooling. It's basically all ice and snow.
Canada world.
Basically, yeah, but colder. They go to. I remember one episode. They go to a world where people are. They hadn't discovered penicillin yet, and all these people are sick and dying, and they give them penicillin, that kind of stuff, right?
Syphilis, so world war by syphilis,
yeah. Sure. So it's it's a pretty easy concept to do. You can put them in whatever you want, and go from there. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's wide open. You could do any number of things. Yeah,
now,
I kind of wish I watched it, but I just kind of fell out for me.
Yeah. So I was reading, and there's a little bit of so this show only the guy who played Rembrandt Brown, who's he's a singer. He doesn't really fit in with the rest of the group. He gets sucked in. He's like an R&B singer, and he's like going to a concert or something in his Cadillac, and he gets sucked in with the rest of them. He's like, "What's going?" He's the guy like, "What's going on? I'm a singer. I don't know those science guy. He doesn't fit in." But he's the only guy that made it through all 5 seasons of the show. So there's some interesting things that happened. The third season. Jerry O'Connell here says that the first 2 seasons went smoothly, but there was a significant shift in the creative direction with the series in the third season. Fox network wanted to be more action oriented than thought provoking. So John Rhys Davies, he's the professor guy. He was the first guy to leave. He said, "Nah, I'm out of here."
He went on to be Gimli.
Yeah. He was pretty critical of the show being written. He said the show could have been the best show on television, but most of the scripts that he had been given were, here, quote, incomprehensible gibberish. That's what he called it. The writers missed the potential of the concept. And he said that Fox exerted too much control over the scripts as part of the reason for his departure.
See, just like what ruined Firefly.
Yeah. So there's some other, it gets a little bit more detail. He said that the writers were too stupid. They hadn't read any science fiction in the first place, and that's led to the show's downfall.
Sounds like
no, that wasn't me. I wasn't involved in the show.
I'm saying that you would be complaining about people not being literate in sci-fi.
Yeah. He says the inexperience of the writers in science fiction often led to the show repurposing ideas from other works. Here's a good one. We did an episode like Tremors, one like Twister, one like Night of the Living Dead, and we even did one like Island of Dr. Moreau, using that film's original masks. He found the writers were looting their ideas rather than using them as a tribute, pointing to one episode in which Quinn, which is Jerry O'Connell's character, needed to cross an invisible bridge. And when he approached the writer about it, he discovered that the writer had never seen Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which, of course, Rhys Davies had started, right? Like, he'd been in that show, right? He's the, he's
Sala.
the guy that Indy meets. Yeah, Sala, that's it, the character. He helps Indy out. And they simply use the idea instead of toying with the meta nature of the scene. Like, imagine you could do quite a little, right? Because he's the same actor. You could have done something.
Yeah, it could have been a whole parallel,
So here, it's good. The breaking point, this is more quote from me. The breaking point for me was when I walked in and saw the writers sitting around looking at a DVD of the movie Species, which had just been released. And they were saying, look, we could take a bit of that scene there and a bit of that scene over there. He said, that's it, I'm out. These guys have no clue what they're doing. So, poor writing. Not so good writing.
I think the show had a pretty loyal fan base, though, did it not?
I think so. I mean, it got 5 seasons, which is somewhat rare for some of these shows. I mean, but again, right, 3 on Fox, and then, yeah. But yeah, that's some interesting background on the show. This is, you wonder why TV sucks so bad. I mean, who would hire it?
The guy who played the R&B singer clearly didn't care.
Yeah.
Give me that paycheck, yo.
Give me that paycheck. I'm in. So yeah, so Jerry O'Connell left. Everybody, they basically changed everybody out of the show except for him, because he wanted to stay. So yeah, you can imagine how difficult it would be.
I mean,
this is a great idea.
When your star leaves, it's like, okay.
They brought in his brother or something, and they did some sort of storyline where he merged with another version of himself, and then they brought in Jerry O'Connell's brother, I think, and he was the guy who who finished off the show. I didn't read everything about it, but yeah, there's all kinds of okay, here let me
maybe it's quickly. Good that I didn't watch it.
Yeah. I'm just skimming here, trying to. I can't find it, but hey, guess who? On season 3, guess who became the new executive producer?
Oh, was it one of the? Was someone associated with J.J. Abrams?
No, Mark Scott Zekri.
Uh-oh.
He's remember who he is, eh?
Oh yeah. He
Yeah.
wrote he was on Jason's show recently, and
yeah,
wrote a great episode of Deep Space Nine, and of course last week's episode of was it last week or the week before of Babylon 5.
Yeah. So when next time that Jason gets him on his show, we're gonna have to ask him about what happened. Season 3, so they brought him in. It sounds like it was a mess. Yeah, so everybody just started leaving.
Was he brought in to try and clean it up, or was he,
I don't know. It just says, okay. One of the co-creators, Tracy, she's been critical of the direction the series took. She called the third season 2-parter Exodus one of the worst pieces of television ever produced, and a low point of the entire series. Oh my goodness. When your co-creator is saying that about the show, that's bad. Yeah.
I guess they didn't have much control over it at that point, huh?
Yeah. They say that the third season, the show jumped the shark, even despite Mark Zekri's decision to restore Tracy's original alternate history premise for this series in season 4. It didn't quite work, I guess. Could not be saved. They shifted production from Vancouver to Los Angeles to reduce costs.
How does that reduce costs? I thought people film in Vancouver because it's cheaper.
Usually you'd think so, but anyway, I guess not. By the fourth season, Jerry and Charlie O'Connell left the series to pursue film careers. O'Connell felt that without Lloyd, Rhys Davies, and Torme all quitting, much of the original premise was gone, and he opted to leave. The brothers leaving the show upset many fans, and yeah, unsuccessful bringing them back. So
spiral.
Yeah, that's it.
All right.
C'est la vie. Anyway, a little bit of trouble. So yeah, next time it'd be interesting. Yeah, Charlie O'Connell was Jerry's brother. Yeah. Okay. And the last one that we have to talk about is Space 1999. So the British science fiction show. Have you seen this one, Cam?
I just recently I first saw some of it, not all of it, and go ahead from there, and I'll.
I want to see this one. Because so anyway, British science fiction television show created by Jerry and Sylvia Anderson. 2 series in 1975 to 77, 24 episodes each, which is kind of rare or unusual for British. They're usually these series which are like 6 episodes. So the premise of Space 99 centers around the plight of inhabitants of Moonbase Alpha, scientific research center located within the crater Plato in the moon's northern hemisphere. Humanity has been storing its nuclear waste. in a vast disposal sites on the far side of the moon when an unknown form of magnetic radiation, unquote, is detected, the accumulating waste reaches critical mass and causes a massive thermonuclear explosion. The force of the blast propels the moon like an enormous boosted rocket, hurls out of Earth orbit and into deep space at a colossal speed, thus stranding the 311 personnel on station on Alpha. Not a bad premise. I think that if the moon just rocked away from the Earth, I think the Earth would be pretty screwed. Yeah. But anyway, I mean, I like these shows because of the big, the giant, the retro 70s look in them.
Yeah.
I kind of got the, it's not a, I've covered up a lot of the picture, but if you do a quick search, Space 1999 TV series, and you go through the uniforms and the look of everything, it's so 70s. Like, it's just screaming.
Painfully so. And then the haircuts.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's just awesome. It's so 70s.
But
another, sorry, go ahead.
But, there was a design look to it, and they stuck to it. And it reminds me a lot of Star Trek: The Motion Picture, like the uniforms and things like that. One of the problems, they don't look terrible, but I mean they are very stylized clearly to that era. But the colors on them are so drab at some point. It's just like that was something kind of struck me. I watched it and I'm like, it just like blends together. They're like these really beige kinds of uniforms, and they have different ones I think for the different like science or engineering or whatever. But
hold on, I'm gonna
very bland.
Oh, you're quiet. You're quieting down.
They're all very bland.
Yeah, I'm gonna just whoops. I'm gonna share screen. I'm just doing a little bit of a looking at some of the images here. I'm just go through, like, this is some great 70s. Like, look at that. That just screams 70s. So this is
okay. Look at the beige. Look at the sea of beige.
Yeah, I know. There's another. I mean, this is the picture here. Yeah, I mean, what the heck is going on there?
Yeah, there.
I mean,
okay. Here's the thing. What I watched the first several episodes again, like first time I ever saw. I was familiar with the show a little bit, but I had never seen it, and so I put on, and man, I got to tell you, it's like the first several episodes, I was like, this is great. I mean, this is really put together well, and the story was pretty cool and everything, and the whole mystery that was in the first with the people getting sick and all that. I thought it was really good, and the performances were good, and I thought the technology was kind of cool. They have like these um, these communication devices, or things they use for like opening the doors and stuff, and the way that they did that, and the communications devices, like the video comms and stuff like that, I thought was all pretty cool. The ships were cool.
Yeah, ships are pretty cool.
And then it got real weird.
Yeah.
Pretty. The thing that it reminded me most of was how Kung Fu, the TV show Kung Fu, started spiraling off into more weirder and weirder stuff.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen the whole thing, of Space 1999, but that kind of weirdish stuff didn't appeal to me as much, so it kind of put a damper on me really wanting to watch the whole thing.
I do want to watch this. I want to watch this one. There's another one, another British show that's kind of like this called UFO, and it looks very, very similar. The same look and everything, and I was just searching around in my my various research that I do for the show, and I thought this one would be another good one to do. Let's just Sorry, let me do that and do that. This is the kind of like this is. I mean, except the purple hair, right? This is very 70s looking. You know, I think this would be another probably very similar.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I'm not sure what the premise is.
I think I
what's
saw
going
this
on?
episode.
What's that?
I think I saw something of this show because
You did?
it's I can't put maybe just a bit of it or something, but that image struck, you know, reminded me
I
of
think
something.
I've seen it before too, but I've forgotten it. But
Okay,
yeah, it's very 70s.
you know what? Before I forget, there was something someone pointed out to me, and to be honest with you, I'm not sure if this is a joke or not.
Look at these shirts.
Yeah, that's
Jeez,
a little
Jesus.
weird. But there was a show from Germany that was like Star Trek before Star Trek, and honestly, I'm not sure if it's a joke or not. If it was like one of these AI recreations or something, I think it's real. But it came out before Star Trek, like in '64 or something, and it was a German show. So we just a
Look at
side
this.
note, we should look that up.
You love that show UFO. You've seen it, Weatherman? Jeez, like I don't remember seeing it. But this looks like another. Like, look at this. This will be just so retro and just like awesome. What is going on? Why are they dressed like this? What are they doing?
Yeah, okay, let's do
Awesome.
a rewatch on this one. Let's drop Babylon 5 and switch over to UFO.
Awesome. Yeah. So there's all kinds of these Space 1999 would be another a good one. Yeah. Let's take a look. Yeah, that's okay. Anything else you want to say about this? Because that's my last one.
No, I kind of wish I had watched the whole thing, and I guess I think it's still running on. Well, it was recently running on YouTube like continuously.
You
But
mean
it's
Space 1999, Pass?
yeah,
You mean,
yeah,
or
yeah. That's right. Yeah,
okay.
that's where I caught it. And it might be on Tubi or something as well. And but it's kind of hard to follow if you haven't seen it because you come into the middle of something and you're not picking it up in order necessarily, and it's probably got some continuity between there. But it's
Yeah.
worth at least watch the first episodes. And
Oh, you're quieting down, Kemp.
I was just saying at least watch the first episodes because I think it's pretty solid as a concept.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it seemed like a joke to me, but
No, not at all. No. I'm talking about Space
but
1999. Space
okay.
1999. Yeah, Shout TV, Dave. That was also that might have been it.
All right.
Yeah, the UFO. Again, that just struck me as saying it seems like I had seen something of that before, but I don't remember anything about it.
Some real sex appeal in UFO. That's right. They're 70s. They're not afraid to be sexy. The Women of UFO, a documentary. Oh, there's a documentary about it.
Really?
Jeez. All
A
right.
bunch of Page 3 girls or something?
Did they have Page 3 back in the 70s?
I don't know.
Maybe.
I would guess that's probably.
So, do they still have Page 3 girls?
I don't know. I'm not a limey.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, there's some great. Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to talk a little bit about before you want to talk about something. But before we go to that, I want to talk a little bit about some of these shows. Have you been doing your homework, Cam? Have you been watching some of these shows that we've been talking about?
No.
Yeah, the ones we've been discussing.
No, I pre-show I mentioned that I was watching. I binge watched two seasons of an anime.
All right. Okay. Well, we can talk about that after, but let's focus on. I've watched a couple episodes of Farscape. So that's the one of the ones. It's on YouTube. You can just go on there and like all, I mean, you can all the first seasons. I have problems watching these shows. I've seen the first 2 episodes and part of the third or all of the third. I can't remember recently. And it's really hard. What's that?
It's a tough hill to climb.
It's a tough hill to climb. Like, we remember these shows and go, okay, a little nostalgia. Let's get back into them. But the, the concept for Farscape isn't too bad. The Muppets are a little bit weird. But I just saw the second episode and like some of the writing is like it was pretty weak. I'll give you an example. So in Farscape, they've got the peacekeepers, right? And the peacekeepers are basically the the space Nazis, and they're chasing after the ship. Everyone's escaped from the ship. They're chasing after them. So in this episode, they're hiding from the peacekeepers in some sort of nebula, and there's some sort of creature from the nebula that comes onto the ship, and they need it hot to have their to incubate their eggs or whatever, right? So they're incubating their eggs. These eggs are coming out. They're taking the DNA from the crew from like their hairbrushes and stuff, and they're turning themselves into exact copies of the crew that can't talk. So you've got the crew, you've got, you're walking around, all of a sudden you hit your doppelganger, and and so there's a little bit of conflict going on. In the meantime, peacekeepers don't do well with the heat, and the woman on the thing is a peacekeeper.
Of course.
She's run away from them. They don't do well from heat. They can die from it. They lose memory, and they can't function. Anyway, at some point, this scout ship, which has been following them, land. The ship's all screwed up because of the heat. They land on the ship, and these guys come out and go, "Oh, we got to capture them." And of course, oh, geez, it's hot. They're stripping off their clothes as they're going along. They're like, "We should get out of here, sir." He's, "No, shut up. We are going to get the bad guy. We're gonna, find the main characters and get them." Anyway, so finally at the very end of the episode, these peacekeepers are basically all lying on the floor except for their boss. They're all basically useless. He's barely functioning. And the main guy comes in, and he comes in with all his clones, and he's like, "Okay, we're gonna, let's, the tough guy is like, 'Hey, let's kill him.' He's like, 'No, we're not gonna kill him,' and he basically risks his life. The bad guy has a knife up to his throat. First, he's got a gun, and he can shoot all of them, and he doesn't have any weapon. And the good guy has no weapons. And then he comes close to him, so the guy gets a knife to his throat. He could easily cut his throat. He's like, no, we're going to let you go back. You tell your big boss guy that if he leaves us alone, we won't bother him." I'm like, Jesus, who writes this stuff? Like, and the other guy's like, "Wow, we should just kill them all." I'm like, yeah, you should, because it's not going to work. You think he's just going to, I mean, you killed his brother, and he's upset about that. You think he's just going to go, "Oh, okay, well, he didn't kill my scout team, so he doesn't care about them anyway, so I'm going to leave them alone"? No, I mean, it's crazy. I'm like, who wrote this? Why did he risked himself getting shot, and then is getting his throat cut? And I'm just like, come on, this is pretty poor writing. What is going on? But anyway, so this is a long way of saying some of these shows, it's pretty hard to watch them going back after you've been used to, a better level of science fiction show, like, I mean, something like, I would say, The Expanse, or, a more modern type show, Battlestar Galactica, etc. Cam, you want to comment on that?
Well,
in the general point I'm making.
There's like we talked about on a few other things. There seems to have been a revolution in the quality and sophistication of shows, and I'm not talking about the content, just production wise, including writing though, quality writing, and it's this kind of pre 2000s era was rough in a lot of ways, and there's probably a lot of aspects of that we could explore, but Farscape is definitely one that's caught in that zone. And again,
I think most of them are caught in that zone.
Oh, the 90s, what you're talking about?
Yeah, 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, it is. It's a very distinct line you can see. I think you can at least.
It's somewhat formulaic. The production values are certain. Like, I think it's actually it's like everyone's copying Star Trek, but Star Trek has better production values and better writing. But it's kind of like they got this general, we've got a spaceship or something like that, some general area where everybody's, hangs out in. All the stuff is going to happen in this area. Even Lexx is like that, which, I mean, Lexx is very weird. It doesn't really fit that mold, but, happens on a ship or something like that, right? it's just the writing,
Well, okay. So let me
I'm
expand this.
still working on my idea of how this is working. I'm not sure, exactly how to express it.
Okay, let's maybe this will help you. Currently, in today and in recent, maybe at least 10 years, maybe 15, 20 years, what's the complaint been? It's like there's nothing new. They're just doing remake after remake after remake after remake,
Yes.
right? Well, might that be related to the fact that they had all these new, not remake ideas, from the 90s and into the 2000s that kind of sucked in a lot of ways? I mean, uh, it's there are some gems in there, but there's a lot of ones that are, a little less so.
Yeah.
Now, again, a friend of mine, he loves Farscape. It's his favorite show, hands down. And so the production value doesn't bother him. Of course, he watched it on the first run, which is a whole different thing, when you're not used to
Yeah.
something else. But there might be something to that. It's like, well, okay, these things didn't really go anywhere. I mean, how many toys did Farscape sell? None. Did they try? I don't know. But typically, those kinds of things, you've got, merchandise and things that go along with them, and that's how they end up making a lot of money. And these things, they were on syndication, and they never really rose above it. It seems.
Yeah.
So, kind of
So
hard to. Oh, someone's saying Snob is wrong. Well, I'm just going to reflexively agree with that. Yes, just here to watch. Welcome.
Yeah, Snob is never wrong. But so I mean, I'm working it out, trying to, work my way through it. I've been thinking about this for a while. But I think that maybe the thing about most of these shows that we're talking about, they were created from a concept, and they were like they were a TV show. I find, and I don't know, Cam, maybe you can agree or disagree with me on this. I find that something that comes from a novel is usually much better written, right? If you've got, I mean, you can screw up on on adapting it. That's easy, that's can be hard to adapt stuff, but things that became, a book that was well written, tend, starting with that base of good writing, then they become, it becomes a good show. And I would say something like The Expanse is an example of that. That's based on a book, number of books, and it's
well,
it fits together better. It's just a better, well written, and they adapted it they're very close to the adaptation.
That's fair to say, because they have they have to work to screw it up. They have something that's good to begin with, when you start with a good novel, obviously, and then they have to screw it up, which they often do. But when they don't, actively try to change things because reasons, then they stumble into it's a solid story.
Yeah, most of these shows that we're talking about here, the ones that we're kind of saying are I don't know, maybe mediocre is the word, not great, but well, typical maybe. They start out as television shows, concepts, and they're written there, and then they're done that way. So they don't have a whole cohesive whole to them, but they kind of some of them get put together better or worse as they go through their seasons, depending on who the writers are. And I would suggest maybe that something like Stargate SG1 would be a better, a higher quality show than that. 10 seasons.
Even
they
that
have
was
these
based on
arcs.
a movie, though. First,
yeah, that's true.
But
that's true.
Well,
and was the movie based on a book? I don't know.
That I don't know. But we talked about this a little bit in regards to Babylon 5, and the way with the A and B plot, and the way that they pace things, and they go back and forth between stuff. And it's like, yeah, the pacing that when and in relation to what you brought up, is the pacing when you write it specifically for TV, where you've got these, okay, you got your teaser and you got your break, and you got Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and it causes you to write in a different way.
Yeah.
And it that's good and bad, and or can be bad in some ways. I just want to note, Weatherman is mentioning Farscape did have toys, so
yeah,
news to me, but cool.
Yeah, and we have this discussion with Jason too. He's always talking about, bring me back the 24 or 26 episode seasons. And I I mean, I don't disagree, but the problem with that is that, these writers sit down and go, we got to get 24 episodes out of this shit. What are we going to do? And instead of having a cohesive story, right? They're like, that's where you get the filler episodes and you get what are we going to do now? I mean, I only got 16 episodes worth of story. How am I going to get it to 26? What are we going to do?
I'll definitely agree that that's an issue. First of all, I think television, where you do have more time, is inherently a better place to tell an elaborate story than a movie, because you got 2-3 hours maybe, and it's tough to do certain things in a movie like that.
The problem. I mean, the problem is you can have too much time, and then
you're absolutely right. So,
right?
but like
most stories are better with more editing.
True. But like something like a relatively tight miniseries, like let's say the Battlestar Galactica reboot, the original miniseries, that was pretty good. I mean,
I would agree.
I forget, was 6 hours or something like that. But pretty tight, and maybe that's why these British shows that tend to be 6 or 8 episodes for a season,
right.
They tend to be pretty tight. I'll give you one example of
because that's like 6 to 8 hours of show versus 20, a 24. That's 24. That's 200 and sorry, that's 24. That's 24 hours of a show, right? Like if you're going to do 24 episodes, right?
Right.
Big difference.
Yeah, a show that stood out to me that was what I thought was a good show was the Netflix Daredevil show.
Right.
That the first season I didn't notice this, but the second season it was like I'm sitting there watching it, and I was binge watching it, and it just I'm like, it's just like it seemed like they're just spending chunks of time. It's like what is going on here? This is going nowhere. It wasn't bad. It wasn't like it was all bad, but it's just like, my God, why are they wasting all this time? And it's like, oh, they just had to fill so many hours. It's like, no, tell the story you want to tell.
Yeah.
And get it get it done efficiently. There's no sense in dragging things out.
Yeah, books don't do that, right? It's not like oh,
okay.
Well, here's the.
I'm not sure about that.
Well, I mean, depends on the writer, but
clearly,
it's like,
clearly
here's the extra chapter. We got to get I mean, can you imagine a book? You going, your book only has 10 chapters. You need an extra chapter. We need 11 chapters for this book. Go write another chapter and throw it in there. Okay,
it seems to me at some point novels became like, well, yep, got to have an 800-page novel fill up. You're getting paid by the page, so yeah, it's suddenly 800 pages or whatever. It's like, go back to your beloved classic sci-fis. None of those are 800 pages, right? I mean, very few.
I think the difference is that most novels are not written that way, right? Like most, and in fact, I would say that probably classic publishers would say, no, we want your book to be smaller because when people go in there and see a giant thick book, they go, fuck, I'm not reading that 1,000 pages. Screw that, I'm out.
Right, but
and they don't buy it.
Look at George R.R. Martin and J.K. Rowling. Those books got bloated. Now, I didn't read the later Harry Potter books, so I don't know. But I hear that there's a lot of good content in them compared to the movies, let's say. But they just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's like, and Stephen King, it's like when they get, it's like when you're a name. It's like, oh yeah, we'll pump these out, to whatever you want to put in there, And I think you're right. It's not necessarily good. All writing needs a good editor.
I'd be curious to talk to a writer about that. I'm reading Neil Asher stuff a lot lately. His are pretty thick. Most of the time when I'm reading books, I don't feel that they've just thrown in extra shit just to make it longer, because they usually don't get paid per page. I mean, back when Dickens was writing and his stuff was being put in newspapers, he was getting paid by the word. So yeah, he was.
Michael just mentioned that.
That's why, Charles Dickens. That's why his friggin' books are so wordy, because he's getting paid by because each chapter was in a newspaper. He's getting paid by the word. But people don't generally do that now. So books tend to be more, less bloated and cut down, and because if we make it shorter, I can charge the same amount for the book, whether it's 300 pages or 500 pages, right? You can only charge a certain amount. And if it's less pages, then it's going to cost me less to make it. I make more profit, right? So
Sure.
yeah. So that's my thing with. I'm still kind of working out this with television shows. Why are these shows not, some of them are, okay and not bad and what we're used to, but why are they not, excellent or awesome? And has it something to do with the format that they are? And I think that it does have something to do with the format, how they come into, right. A novel tends to be a story, a beginning, middle, and end, right? But when you write a TV show, you're like, okay, well, we got to get a season out of this, and then hopefully it'll be good enough so I can get another season, and then another season, so I can keep getting paid, right? So I think that has a big factor on the way that these things are put together, and maybe on the quality as well. I mean, you can still have good quality, but it seems very hard to do it with this sort of serialized television show. I don't know.
Yeah, well, we've seen many examples of that. Lost, for example, where it's like, oh,
Yeah.
it clearly isn't something they had planned out, and it just kind of turns into a mess. Yeah, so you're right.
And
It's much better that someone does have, hey, this is a story I want to tell, like Babylon 5.
yeah, they write here, they write a story for a show. This weatherman says for TV with an open ending. Yeah, exactly. But if you write a book, you have a beginning, middle, and end. And you could have a second book where you tell a different story, or expand on
Well,
the story, or go to the next part of the story.
okay.
But books tend to have that.
Yeah, okay, but let's take an alternate example. Star Trek, which is it isn't the continuing story, Next Generation or the original show, where there are some continuing storylines and things, but it's really basically a week to week kind of thing, and they could keep that going indefinitely,
Yeah,
for the most part. Um, Deep Space Nine a little tighter on in terms of long term storylines, but they could have the Dominion War story was, where they ended up, well, the kind of aftermath of it, and they finished that up. It was basically a 3-year arc, I think,
yeah,
and well, even longer if you want to get to the pre-war stuff. But and they finished it up, but there's nothing that really prevented them from going to the next step, and saying, okay, well, now we're going to go on and something else will happen. Um, Whereas Babylon 5 was planned out, to have a beginning, middle, and end, like you mentioned with, like a novel. So
oh, I'm losing you, but
I was just saying that Babylon 5 was planned out more like a novel that has a beginning, middle, and end, and so you
yeah,
can't just easily tack on. And when they tried, you could argue it was less successful than the rest of it. It wasn't bad what they tacked on because again it was 5 years, so they compressed to 4, and then they added a fifth year back in. Um, and not bad because I think he did have a good handle on it, but most shows can't do that.
yeah. And I think it's funny because Babylon 5 is in that, it's in this time frame we're talking about, 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah.
And this, but yet I don't feel that way when I'm watching the show. I feel like maybe it's because I know there's it's a 4 or 5 year arc, and they have a plan. I don't know, but I just don't get the same feeling that, I mean, you're very critical of the filler episodes, but even those filler episodes, I'm not as critical, because I feel like, okay, we're on a space station and there's this giant, there's this big arc that's going on, whatever it is that's coming, a war or whatever's happening is going to happen. But during the time, you're on a space station, you've got the day-to-day operations going on, and even though there might be a war or something big coming, you still got these normal things that happen. I don't really feel that way when I watch Babylon 5. I feel it's like an outlier compared to the rest of these 90s and early 2000s shows that we're watching, that we're looking back at.
It is. I think it's, well, yeah, it's going to be interesting with the rewatch the way we're doing it to see how I end up at the end. But it was definitely yeah, even though it has its flaws, and I have criticisms of the writing, it was a cut above these other shows. I mean, maybe several steps above.
Yeah,
In
I'm
in
feeling
terms
that
of
too.
yeah, and I'm that's good to hear that it's coming through to first time watchers 30 years after the original came out, because that speaks to the fact that it really was a better quality. When you're looking back from today in the same era, and you're noticing a contrast between those two things.
Yeah,
I can't make that judgment, because the same way my friend can't make that judgment about Farscape now, because I watched it originally and I have the nostalgia for it, and I've already established that I like it, so I can't, you know, I don't have fresh eyes to look at it like you do.
yeah. It's kind of interesting because doing this last month, these 4 shows that we've done on looking back at these. A lot of these are old shows. Some of them I haven't seen, but some of them I have, and I'm like, oh yeah, and I'm thinking back to them, watching a little bit of it, and finding they don't hold up very well, and then contrasting that with Babylon 5 because it's new, but it's in that era, but it is holding up better in my view than some of these things. And I think, I mean, I've always been a story guy. For me, if the story is good, everything falls from that. And if the story sucks, then you're going to have a bad TV, a show, movie, whatever. So I'm, story. They should always focus on story first, and then everything else comes from that. But and maybe that's why I'm liking Babylon 5 and thinking that it's better because it's got a set storyline. It's not the whole television, hey, we got to open, let's do a season, open ended up, where we're going to go next season. You can just see them sitting down, hey, we got renewed. Oh shit. Now what are we going to do? And saying that, I mean, I watched Lost as it came out with the wife, and we generally enjoyed it. But looking back now, I'm like, I mean, looking back at it now, going, they had no clue what they were doing. Why didn't they just have a plan? And it would have been, interesting to see how they got there. And the pieces that they put out in Lost were interesting. And at the time, we're like, where did they get that nuclear bomb from? Where's why is there a polar bear here? That kind of thing.
Yeah,
and they kind of fit it together, but then at the end, you're like, oh, they didn't really know what they were doing, and there was no real plan, and it's not really a cohesive story, and it's just they threw whatever.
Right. It's like it's kind of like a tactical strategic thing. It's like their tactics were fine, where they could kind of tie these things together. And it's like, oh, but where were we going with this? Oh, we don't know. Okay, so it never really paid off. So again, that was kind of, after this revolution where writing had kind of gone to a new level, and those people were writing in that era and of that level, but it still doesn't mean they know how to had a point. So it's like the skill was there, but the inspiration wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, how could you do television shows better? I mean, why wouldn't you just do, let's say we do, I mean, a novelist who writes a story, right? I write, Star Wars, the first episode, and people love it, and we want to do another, episode, another novel. Well, the characters can carry on, and more things can happen, right? Why wouldn't we do, all right, season 1, and here's an arc in season 1. People like season 1, we're going to do another arc. Well, we can use mostly the same characters. We can do a different arc. Something else happens to them. Why can't you do that like you would a novel that we write the first novel and people like it, and okay, now I got to write a second and a third, and maybe I didn't have plans at the beginning for that, but why can't you do that? It just seems strange. Yeah. All right. Well, we're not going to solve the question, but it is an interesting question, one that I've struggled, sort of thought about and tried to figure out. Why are these TV shows, not quite as good as they could be? And I think it has to do with the medium and how they're told, and but we'll think about it a little more and talk about it, discuss it, and maybe we'll come to something eventually, figure it out. But yeah, okay. You wanted to talk about Oh, I'm just for PBR Street Gang. Yeah, I'm gonna look at Internaut. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm gonna look at that. I got it up here. I'm gonna take a look at it later. Yeah, you wanted to talk about something, Cam?
Well, okay, hold on. I mentioned this German Star Trek show. And maybe you're thinking of something else that I mentioned, but
Well, I thought you said something about AI or something. You wanted to.
Yeah.
But you can talk about the German Star Trek show first.
Okay, here, I'll put it in our chat, the a link to the Wikipedia, and I have seen a video on this. You can probably look it up on YouTube. I can't even begin to pronounce it, but you can check that out.
I'm not German. Space Patrol: The Fantastic Adventures of Spaceship Orion. That's what it's called. Okay, well, put it in the main chat. People want to look at it.
Well, it just might be a point of interest for some people. Others were saying, "Hey, this looks a lot like Star Trek," before Star Trek. So, yeah, you can judge for yourself. There are no new ideas, but
you're really quiet again.
Okay, sorry. How about now?
Much better.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna put. There's the link that. Cam. So Wikipedia. Rappen. Oh, I can't speak German. Anyway.
Why don't you try searching for that in YouTube and see if you can find something while I tell people about my adventures in AI.
Oh yes.
Okay. So I've been doing a little playing around with Grok. The X Elon Musk AI. And I don't have a paid version or anything, so I'm somewhat limited. But I've been going over various things, and I've noticed a pattern that if this persists, AI, you could just chunk it in the trash because if this is representative of it, where the same pattern has occurred in different things. And for different sorts of topics. One of them, the one that I was going through, I said, I remember there was a D&D book from, years ago. And I'm like, oh, well, tell me about that. And it, it kind of said the basics of it or whatever. And I said, oh, okay, let's build a character from it. And so it listed a bunch of stuff. And, I didn't have the book in front of me, but I'm thinking of things. I'm like, I don't think that's right. And went through. Long story short, it's stating all kinds of errors. And the interesting thing is, it's like that I found is it's kind of this pattern. It's okay. You ask it a general question and mention something, then you ask something more specific, and then it won't address the specific thing you're talking about. It doesn't want to talk about certain things for whatever reason. I mean, it's not an actual person that has a motive necessarily, unless someone's building an algorithm, but it won't do it. And then I keep on pointing more specifically, and it usually seems to take 2 or 3 times where first it doesn't mention it, second it denies that it exists, and then when you point it out, it will say, "Oh, yes, yeah, oh, my mistake, I got it." And it's not just that it's not finding the reference. It's like a strange pattern that I'm finding. And the example with the Dungeons and Dragons thing, it's like I kept on pointing it out again and again and again, and it kept on like reverting back. It's like it was almost as if it's like, no, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about that. And again, there's no motive. There's no political element to D&D. Not at that time, at least. In this discussion, it wasn't like, oh, there's some social engineering going on in this thing. It was just, it got stuck on something, and even though it would acknowledge that it was wrong, oh yeah, I got that wrong, then it would like go right back to the wrong thing. And so it's unable to self-correct, and like I said, the same pattern has occurred. I'm not spending all day on these things, but it's like it keeps coming up, that kind of thing. And I was just trying to do this fun little exercise with this, and I sat there and had to correct it again and again and again. It's like, why am I doing this? This is giving me nothing. It's actually making me do more work.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, what am I not catching in here that it's telling me that's, I'm not remembering that it's wrong, and then I'm just accepting wrong information. It's like, if that's what's going to happen, then here's your dystopian future coming in, right? Because it's confidently pushing lies,
Yeah.
And again, I'm not talking that D&D has any bearing on the world, but it's pushing the same sort of falsehoods for other things as well. And it will, for better, it's this is going to act as a persuasion tool for people because, I mean, there's people going around. This is another whole thing, and I realize this is off topic, everybody. So we're past our hour. If you want to leave, thank you for coming. But I this is very dangerous. There's people that just believe things uncritically, and it's like, I see these morons talking about some important issues, like, well, I asked Grok or I asked ChatGPT what blah blah blah, and it's like, you dishonest pieces of garbage. Again, you can prompt these things to say whatever you want it to say, and that's what they're doing a lot because they're grifters or whatever. But if someone innocently comes into this and they're asking about something that's misleading them, they're going to believe it. I mean, it's like one of those things that the first thing you kind of experience or something, and this first knowledge that kind of goes into your brain, and it's hard to undo that. So hey, let's destroy that AI before it becomes a problem. Oh wait,
Yeah.
it already is.
Well, the thing is that people used to say that about newspapers. You'd read a newspaper and you'd be like, you believe everything you read in the newspaper until you read an article about something and you were there, and you'd be like, holy crap, this thing's full of errors. Everything they say is wrong. So you go, okay, well, I believe the stuff. I wasn't there, but when I was there and I do know something about this topic, I noticed that there's all kinds of these errors. So maybe every error, maybe every newspaper article is like that. Maybe things haven't really changed. Maybe it's been like that for the entire time.
Well,
right?
that's certainly true. I mean, the media has, well, the new media has made old media's grip on things. It's loosened the grip on it, and it's well, they don't. Old media doesn't like that, right?
Yeah.
But new media is just as likely to mislead you as old media. It's just, I guess, when it comes down to it, having not being single sourced essentially, or is and let's be clear,
Yeah.
old media is single sourced.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I think that I take your point about this problem, but I think we've always had that problem because
Well, okay.
newspapers. But so
Hey. Eldest, greetings.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but it's the same thing as social media though, because it's we've heard the whole thing. Oh, rock and roll is going to make kids whatever, but social media gets into people's brains unlike anything before. I mean, it's a scale; it keeps going up, right? Oh, someone wrote a book. Oh, okay, now it's a TV show. It has more. Social media is now like an order of magnitude higher than any of those other things, and so the effect's going to be an order of magnitude worse. Is my
yeah. I mean, yeah, there's could be some truth to that for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so the link that I put in the chat is the Rompantruli Space Patrol, basically a German version of Star Wars, maybe Star Trek. Sorry. Yeah, so it's in black and white. It says it's 12 years ago that it first was put on. It's all in all the comments are in German. It's in German, and I have no idea what people are saying or anything.
So bonus
But
segment next week we watch this.
But yeah, Weatherman says there's 7 episodes, but there's a link right there to the first episode, Rompantroll, which is a space patrol, I guess. Everybody commenting is German. No idea what they're saying. Don't know German. Yeah, it's an hour, 58 minutes, 58:39. It says it's the first episode. Rompantruli Orion, Folger 1, Angriff out dem All. I don't know what that means. I could put captions on it, probably would work. Anyway, that's what Ken was talking about. If you want to take a look at German Space Patrol, black and white. It must be really old. Yeah. Okay. That was that everything we covered? We covered everything. We're gonna.
Yeah, Well, I will just say, without going into it, I'll just say that the anime I watched was called Solo Leveling. Someone on the Twitters, the X,
Was
recommended
called was
Solo
called what?
Solo Leveling.
Solo Leveling.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
So
it's worth a watch. I think it's pretty fun.
so just so everyone knows, Cam and this is a little while ago we were talking about this. We wanted to do something with old school anime and looking at an anime show or something. We were kicking that idea around.
Yeah,
Maybe
70s,
like
80s.
70s and 80s anime, but there's so much we couldn't figure out which to watch. I mean, we don't want to spend, I don't think we can spend watch 5 seasons of an anime just for one show. But we were kicking around an idea, trying to look at an anime show. We're still kicking around. We're still working on it. So, but if anybody has any suggestions, hey, we could, there's people in the chat who've got good ideas. But we're still kicking that idea around, trying to get somewhere with it. We would look at an anime show, preferably a science fiction or space one. Maybe, G-Force is the one that I know the most. It's the most obvious one, but it's a very Americanized one, eh? Would you want to do?
Well, you could see the original Gatchaman too, which is
true.
What I'd recommend.
Yeah. So we're kicking that around. We're thinking about it, trying to figure out what to do. All right. So next episode, next week. I don't have a show yet. We haven't decided. We'll think of something. But after that is movie night again. We're going to be doing movie night. We're going to be doing Rock and Rule, which is basically a Canadian heavy metal. So it's, fantasy, animated, music style, like the heavy metal, right? The original. So we're going to look at that. It's all up on the YouTube channel. It's even got the link in the show notes to the Internet or Internet Archive copy so that people can see it. I think we should watch probably the American version, Cam.
Okay.
I think that's the first one. It says American version. Then it says Canadian VHS version. It's like 3 minutes longer, but it's probably a poor quality, right? Like it sounds like somebody, copied it from their, let's play this on my VCR and then I'm going to copy it. But so I think the American version is the first one. So I think we'll watch the first one.
Wait, where do you have this listed?
It's listed in the shows coming up on the YouTube channel.
Okay. Wait, and remind me, what week are we going to do this?
Not next week, the week after. Okay, Episode 46 is going to be another movie night.
Yeah. On that topic, we haven't done a what is sci-fi, or is it sci-fi recently. Are you willing to take suggestions from the field?
For next,
not necessarily next week.
Of course I am. Okay. We want to talk with what our people, what our viewers want to talk about. Now, I have had a suggestion from a family member about what we should do for sci-fi, and I don't know if this is a good idea though. The suggestion was children's shows. Is it sci-fi? Now, I've been poo-pooing the idea because I've been like,
it's like a basket of children's shows.
Yeah, like what would would we do shows that you and I watched as children, or would we do like my kids are, my youngest kid's 12, so I watched, and my oldest is 18, so I watched I had to watch a bunch of kids TV shows, that, and surprisingly, a lot of them, it would be interesting if they're to discuss whether they're sci-fi or not, but I just don't know if you guys would be interested in hearing that. There's all kinds of like, how about Paw Patrol? What about, they all have some sort of science fiction elements to it. Paw Patrol's a good answer. What else? The PJ Masks. What are those stupid bears under the sea called again? Anyway, there's tons and tons of shows, and I am aware of, unfortunately, aware of many of them. So I'm just wondering if that would be of interest. I kind of think that people wouldn't be interested because they may or may not have seen these shows. It'd be like, yeah, but
Well,
I'm
who
willing
knows?
to. I'm willing to do it if.
Maybe some of our viewers have kids.
Yeah, maybe they do. I don't know, but they might. Depending on when you had your kids, you might. There's different shows. Is Dora the Explorer science fiction?
Maybe.
Lots of questions.
Well, I'll just say that I'd be willing to, do that.
You'd be okay with that?
Yeah.
Because we kind of ran out of, is it sci-fi? We kind of ran out of good shows that would be sort of in between that could be discussed, right? Like there's some things that are so obvious, right? They're, is Stargate science fiction? Yes. Okay. Next. You can't really discuss that. It's pretty basic. So, I mean, let me know, guys. Would you guys be interested? Would you be interested in a what is sci-fi show on kids shows, various kids shows, or is that people be like, ugh, I don't have kids, I don't care. All right, we'll just have to wait, I guess. But yeah, that's I've been just racking my brain trying to figure something out. What we could do next for what is sci-fi, and that's the only one that was suggested to me, and I didn't come up with it. Someone else did, but maybe it's good. I don't see the chat erupting with yes, we want to do what science fiction kid shows.
I hate kids.
Yeah, that's stupid kids. Fuck them kids.
That's no.
Excuse me.
That's bad phraseology there, bro.
So maybe there wouldn't be, this. I mean, we could maybe do. PBR Street Gang says.
Okay.
Doesn't like the idea.
Chat for kid shows. If we don't get 4, we're gonna say no.
Okay, so Michael, you're giving me shows. Are these kids shows? Flash Gordon, Defense of the Earth, French Planet of the Apes. These aren't kids shows. These are just regular shows that you're suggesting. Now that PBR,
Flash Gordon and Defender, those are both animated.
Thundercats. I think we already discussed Thundercats. I believe.
Oh yeah.
PBR Street Gang says no. It's a bad idea. That means we got to do it. Yeah.
I'm not seeing any ones, so I'm gonna say.
I enjoyed the ones in the chat.
Tell your friend they're stupid.
It was my daughter.
Oh, see, you said now
Jesus.
You're into saying your daughter's stupid.
Well, I said it was a family member. Who do you think it was?
Oh, I thought you said
my
friend.
kid.
Well, okay, I'll take that back.
It's my kid. She goes, you should do this for your show.
Wait a minute. Is your kid's a Gen Zer then, probably, right?
Well, she's 12, so.
Okay, well, that's maybe Gen Alpha. Okay, whatever. 12.
I don't think they have it. Do they have a Gen for that age yet?
Okay.
Saturday morning cartoons. We kind of talked about Saturday morning cartoons, like the Thundercats originally. So those are our cartoons, right? Cam, those are the cartoons that we grew up with.
Sure.
Thundercats, G.I. Joe.
Look, I'm all for
Transformers.
those, but the chat doesn't seem to. I saw no ones. I asked for ones.
We don't do that. We don't do ones in the chat. It's the first time nobody knows.
Aldous, an English-speaking migrant does stretch the imagination. In reference to Dora, I assume.
We'll have to. Maybe I'll look at it. I could come up with a list of shows, and some of them are. I would actually say that most kids' TV shows are science fiction. That would be my initial, because they got all this weird stuff, talking animals in them, all kinds of. Yeah. Oh, got a 3 in the chat. Yeah. Hallmark. Is it a Christmas show? Oh, you know how many?
Yes. Good choice.
Hallmark.
One is even better.
You know how many Hallmark shows I have inadvertently watched?
I will not watch.
The wife watches them, so I walk upstairs. Yeah, it's like, they're kind of funny though. They are the essence of. Yeah, basically.
You don't have a man cave?
We don't. No, not really. My man cave doesn't have a TV. It's got a poker.
You got a garage?
It's got a well, the garage is pretty cold.
Okay,
the man cave has a. I'm in the man cave. It's got a poker table, not really television, but Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Well,
Those Hallmark movies are all the same, man. Like that Hallmark drinking game, you'll
yeah,
get
it's the
hammered
most
if you did.
it's the most
You would
formula
get
thing
hammered.
ever. Right.
Yeah, you get hammered, man. You would not believe that they are all the same.
They're
I
all
like
made
that
with AI, right? It's just like, okay,
you
let's see. We
could
need a
you could make it with AI. I like the my favorite are the guys because and the main guy and the main girl. So the main guys, they're all like 8 out of 10s, and they're a little rugged and handy and stuff, but they're super good looking, Like
and
they're
and,
not so good looking, but they're like way above average good looking.
So like me,
And the women are always like not as good looking. They're like 6s, right? So that the person watching the show can put themselves, I could be that girl.
but
I
they're
could be.
career oriented though.
Yeah, and they're always career oriented. They always have to go back home because a parent died or they lost their job or something. And this guy, he's just sitting there waiting for them. Like he has no agency on his own. He's just like waiting. Oh, here she comes. Oh, there she's there. Oh, I can't decide if I should go back to work or whatever. Don't worry, I'll just wait here and fix roofs or do plumbing, or I don't see many
Run a
plumbing.
Christmas tree farm.
Yeah, Christmas tree farm. Yeah, that's a drink.
Yeah.
Christmas tree farm, or it's not usually plumbing. Plumbing is like, I guess, the crack of the ass. It's not sexy, but making furniture or I guess framing or putting a roof on a house is okay, but plumbing isn't good enough. But yeah, it's just Christmas tree farm. Yeah, they're always shot in. It's obviously June. It's fake snow on the ground.
Yeah,
and
right.
They're wearing coats, but they're not cold. Like it's obvious. Anyway.
Weatherman, yes, Thunder the Barbarian, great show, and definitely sci-fi. Just as a quick mention, I think one of the things for Is It Sci-Fi we talked about was superheroes, and where those lines are, because they're definitely blurry, but that's just an idea.
Yeah, we did mention it.
Yeah. Okay, we ready to wrap this up?
Let's wrap it up. We've gone extra overtime.
Okay, I would like to mention, just quickly, like and subscribe, please, because Sci-Fi Snob needs it. But I do note that you have 563 subscribers right now, which is a couple more.
63, so. Really?
That's what it says.
Oh my goodness. We've gone up a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Wow. I can't believe it. We were stuck. I thought we were stuck at 559. Yeah. Everyone, thanks. We appreciate you subscribing. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by July. I think that's reasonable. And then, we could get monetized, and then the money would roll in, and we would be rich. And I wouldn't share it with Cam, keep it for myself, and spend it all on hookers and blow. No, only hookers and blow after we update the studio a little bit, do some stuff like that, and then the rest would be on hookers and blow, of course. But yeah.
Neighborly programming note: I saw that Jason is not going to be doing shows this week for Sci-Fi for me, so no live from the bunker.
No shows this week. Yeah.
And unfortunately, I will not be able to do Dead from the Dugout. So.
Yeah, that's a lot of work for us too, though. We're pretty busy with 2 shows a week. It's tough.
Yes, for old lazy people, that's a lot of work.
That's right. And Cam is complaining about not getting paid, so I don't want to push him.
I'm on the edge of quitting at every moment. So.
Every show when he shows up, it's like, oh my god, I can't believe he showed up. All right, another week. I don't have to do this by myself. But yeah, anytime I expect that, Cam won't be here. All right. Okay, so last thing we have to do is we got to do a joke before we say goodnight. Okay, let's see here. All right, Cam, which TV show was the astronaut featured on?
What TV show was the astronaut featured on? I don't know.
Dancing with the Stars. Come on. That's so that's pretty obvious. All right, one more. Where's my other one? Oh, darn it. think did I lose it? Where did it go? Oh, that's not good. No, that one's not good. Which TV shows are completely clean?
I don't know which TV shows are completely clean.
Soap operas, of course.
That's okay.
That's bad.
I give you that
All
one.
right.
All right.
The Brack Show.
The Brack Show. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, good one.
It's a good one. Okay, so coming up next week, next real quick outro next Sunday. Don't know what our show is going to be. It'll be a surprise. We will work on it this week and come up with it next show.
I will not be working on it this week, so it better be easy.
Yeah, that's every week. That's no different.
No.
Okay.
Come
on. And this Wednesday, of course, the Babylon 5 show. We're going to be doing the next episode 12, By Any Means Necessary, and we're going to have a guest host. Cam, you're not going to be here for that show, right?
Babylon 5, no.
Cam's going to be missing for that show. We're going to have a new special guest host.
Assimilating knowledge.
What's that?
Assimilating knowledge?
Assimilating Knowledge has volunteered, to come on the show. He's going to come on the show. He's going to be our guest host. Hopefully he'll do a good job. Better job than Cam. Maybe we can replace Cam.
I have not won any of the your stupid polls. No, I guess
I'm giving the people what they want. They want a poll. They get a poll. That's how it works. All right. I see we already have one like up on the episode for Babylon 5, episode 12, Any Means Necessary. I assume that was assimilating knowledge, but hey, whatever. Yeah. All right. That's it for the show. We will see you on Wednesday, hopefully, and next Sunday, if not. All right. Good night, everyone. Thanks for coming by. Like and subscribe on the way out. Do all those things. Help us get to 1,000. So, so we can start spending some money on some show improvements. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.